The tips I'll be sharing in this video are meant to help you understand some basic things you need to do in order to help you save up on production costs in the factory. The number one thing which I'll be covering here is in the aspect of acquiring materials for production. Now, I've had a few people who have actually contacted me asking for nylon rolls, preforms, where they can source labels, etc. Now, when it comes to things like this, due to location and the distance, sometimes I might not be able to actually give you someone who will be able to supply you with all this material, factoring the cost of transportation, the distance, time of production, etc. So for things like this, when it comes to the areas of acquiring nylon rolls and other materials that are needed for production, I would highly suggest that you partner or you work with someone who actually produces these materials close to your factory. Now, if you don't have anyone in mind, or maybe you're just coming in fresh into the business, you don't have anybody around you, one easy thing which you could do, I think I've actually shared this tip in a previous video, is to find any product, any water product that you can find that actually meets the standard which you would like to have for your own factory. So if it's nylon roll, I'm sure there are a few companies who are already producing sachet water in your area. So you can find one of those companies, maybe you can just buy pure water, or if you see a sachet nylon on the ground anywhere, people tend to litter a lot. You can find one of the nylon that meets your standard and check behind it. You will probably see a few numbers written there. So those numbers most likely will be the number of the manager. So when you call the number, you can explain your situation to them. You can tell them what you want to do and how you can actually source this nylon. So from there, you can be able to get the contact of someone who actually supplies nylon to you for your own factory. There are things you need to discuss with them, like the price per kg. That's if it's for the nylon. If it's for preforms, you can ask them the price per bag, the quantity which is in a bag, and every other thing that has to do with the weight, etc., transportation, the distance where they are located, and so on. This will make it a little bit more cheaper than sourcing from a different state or sourcing from somewhere outside your factory. So finding someone close to you will help you save up on costs when it comes to production. Another tip again here is in areas of bottle blowing. Now there are some companies who have actually reached out to me. In short, some have contacted our factory and said they want us to blow bottles for them. Now when it comes to bottle blowing, sometimes in your factory, if you are not able to afford the pet blowing machine, you need to outsource some of the services to another factory. So outsourcing, you also need to find a company which is close to you. Now when you are outsourcing, you will find a company that is able to blow the bottles for you timely and which is not too far away from you. I'm sure in your area, except maybe if you are in a rural area and you don't have any other factory around the area or there are no much competition there, then that time you might actually need to invest in the bottle blowing machine. But if you are in an urban area and you need someone who can supply bottles for you can just easily find a bottle similar to the trick which I mentioned for the nylon rolls, preforms, and other materials that you need for your factory. You can actually find a factory which is close to you that can be able to offer such services to you. And note, the factories which are most likely going to offer such services to you are factories who are already big and established. Because factories who have low turnover or who have low supply for bottled water, they are less likely to actually blow bottles for you because of the cost of production. So you will need to find companies which are closer to you, companies which are big, and companies which are able to supply bottles for you. This particular tip will help you save up on cost and it will help you get your bottles and produce timely. Now another tip again is for you to partner with established distributors. Now there are a lot of distributors out there. This particular tip comes in terms of marketing and sales. So if you're a company which is just starting up, you don't have enough vehicle, maybe you're just starting with one vehicle and you don't have much distribution outlets, which you are to supply to. You can just do a little survey around the area to know who are those major distributors. Those are people who are able to sell pure water, maybe an average of up to 500 bags per day. If this for bottled water, you can find maybe some of those big hotels which have enough guests coming in. You need to be strategic with the location. Now you can visit those companies. You can just be like a weekend survey that you will do just to know some of those hot areas, because a lot of those areas which sell water the most, their sales usually turn up during the weekend. So you can just do a weekend survey to know those hot areas which need bottled water or which need sachet water. So by locating those areas, you can partner with them so that your distribution vehicle, maybe if you just have one, can be able to distribute in large quantities to them. This will help you save up on cost. Or if you are to do marketing yourself and find outlets every day, going out with your vehicles to find where to distribute water to, you might end up spending a lot in terms of petrol and your running cost. So by finding those huge distribution outlets that are able to survive possibly up to like 50 packs, 100 packs, it will save up on cost when it comes to distributing to other places. So this will help you in terms of marketing and also in terms of sales. Another tip is for you to save up on cost of production, you need to be strategic with your power consumption in the factory. Now, for most factories, they are most likely going to install a meter. That's if you are in the urban area. And in these urban areas, as long as your meter is on in the factory, the meter keeps reading and it calculates in your power consumption. So whenever you are done with production or whenever you are done with factory activities, it is advised that you turn off your meter and turn off all electrical appliances within the factory. This will help you save up on costs. A lot of this meter, you have to recharge them just like the way you recharge your phone or you recharge data. So similar to your phone, so if you want to save your data, or if you are in a place where you don't want messages to come in, you don't want any data activity to go on, you turn it off. So similarly too, you turn off the electricity completely in your factory in order to save up on the cost of electricity. One more tip here is for you to monitor your tanks and your borehole. This is also in terms of electricity too. Sometimes when you are producing within the factory, the tanks usually overflow. This happens in most factories. When factory activities are going on, if you don't have someone specifically, or if your tanks are not located inside the factory, sometimes they might overflow and you might not be aware. So by monitoring your tanks and knowing when they overflow, it will help you save up on cost because the bowl actually draws electricity. So if your tank is overflowing and you don't turn it off, this also impacts the power consumption within the factory. One more tip here is for you to hire correctly. This will help you save up on production costs a lot. When it comes to hiring the right operator, someone who is operating the machine, it will help you save up on costs because there will be less leakages. When you hire correctly in terms of distribution and sales, it will help you save up on costs in distributing to the right locations, avoiding less leakages in terms of handling, and so on. So hiring correctly too will also help you save up on production costs overall in the factory. And the last tip I have here is for you to avoid making poor investments. Now, poor investment, this generally means before you actually even set up the factory, there are some things which you need to know in terms of structuring your factory, in terms of getting the right materials for your factory, equipment, and so on. By making the right investment choices to help you save up a lot. In short, something like buying a land in a place where it doesn't have enough water is already an investment mistake. Let's say you acquire a land in a place that you intend to set up your factory. This actually happened in our own factory a while back. We constructed the factory there, and after a while, the water was not enough. So there are things like that happen. Sure, there are things like power supply. So you might set up a factory in a place where maybe you think over a while you could be managing it with generator, and after a while you see that the cost of running it and the cost of petrol and diesel is more. So things like that will also cripple the factory and also increases the cost of production. So there are so many investment choices that you need to be aware of before you actually make that investment for establishing a water factory. And for this reason, that is why I make some of these videos on YouTube. If you really like to know more about water factory business before making the investment, I would highly suggest that you check out my other videos. I've made a lot of videos covering various topics in terms of setting up a water factory and actually running the factory. You can click the link or open my YouTube channel to see the other videos which I've made. And if you'll be interested in the one-on-one coaching, whereby I go into details on how to set up the factory. I also share a business plan, a building plan, a NAFDAC checklist. I facilitate the supply and installations of equipment and so much more. I will leave my WhatsApp contacts so that you can send me a DM there and we discuss further on how to go about it.